Yeah.
All right. So
we can get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Question number 1 is from Rommel, and they ask, how important is it to play with both feet flat on the floor? I tend to cross my legs or play with my feet under my chair. I guess probably the subcontext for this would be just like for postural comfort / how long can you sustain that before you have problems?
Yeah, I think what we should first talk about is, let's just make it known that any position for a long period of time can be harmful. But even if you sit with the perfect posture 24 hours in a row, it's not going to be good for you. So I guess like the first response is like, how long are you actually playing this position? If you're moving a lot in between those positions pretty frequently when you're playing, then it's actually okay, right? You're not, the tissues aren't going to be placed in too much strain. But if we zoom out and just look at these positions objectively, I always recommend the feet being flat on the floor, mainly because there's just overall less strain on your tissue if you play with your feet supported. And
all right, I'm gonna put my feet on the floor.
modify your ergonomic environment to really allow that to happen. So it's sort of that most neutral position that doesn't allow for shortening of certain muscles that can prevent your muscles from working well. So what we call muscle inhibition at your legs and even your lower back. So a lot of the times when we're sitting, our muscles don't work as well. So when we get up and do other things, our lower back or the joints of our lower back get irritated more quickly. If we dive into the cross-legged position, if you guys kind of just imagine it, this can cause shortening of your butt muscles, cause strain on the outside of your knee. I'm sure you guys can kind of see why physically if you're crossing your knees, and sometimes when you just bend your knee too much, it can limit the blood flow going both ways. It's the same story with if your knees bent too far underneath your chair. That typically places more pressure underneath your thighs. So let me just demonstrate for you guys.
We're gonna switch over to the other screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna share this. This is a quick drawing, you know. Boom! Look at this guy. You guys see him? I hope you guys see him.
I think it's working.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at this guy. He looks really erect. Obvious, and he's not wearing clothes. This is not how I want you guys to play, obviously. But what I'm trying to demonstrate is obviously this thing, right? He's flat, feet are supported, nice, right? And then I want you guys to envision, right? If his knees are bent like this, there'll be more pressure here.
Okay.
So that can sometimes limit blood flow. That also shortens these muscles here, your hamstrings, which again, when you go and do other activities, it can place more strain on your lower back.
Yeah,
so
dude.
This guy, right? So hold on, we'll make him happier.
Yeah. Kind of looks like the Joker,
really,
actually.
That's really creepy. Really creepy. My bad. Okay. So I'm back.
Okay. So if we want to be a supervillain, then the answer is to sit with good posture, basically.
Right. Dude, that is creepy.
So that's kind of interesting because ever since I started working on like Dota stuff full time and doing marketing work where I have to sit at a desk all the time, I just noticed that my legs hurt almost all the time. Like there's just like this kind of like discomfort because my hamstrings are so short all the time. Like I can feel them. They're just like rock hard, tight all the time. And it hurts my lower back and it makes me like not want to work out because I feel like shit.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and like that's why it's super important when we work out to have a nice warm up.
Yeah.
Because we have to undo all the stress of what we're doing throughout the day, which is literally just sitting. And then we go out and do this workout. A lot of us skip that step, right? We just don't realize it.
Right.
Just hop right in. Let me do my 20 squats or whatever. Let me do my strong lifts. But you'll hurt your back if you don't. Warm up properly, activate your glutes, all those things.
Sounds good. All right, the next question is from Edge Dancer, and shout out to the what's that series? Way of Kings. It's a good series, fantasy series. If you like fantasy books. They ask, does resting your forearms on the edge of the table hurt you? Basically asking whether arm rests or wrist rests are good to have. I assume the wrist rest would be like on the mouse pads that some people have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good question. I think typically if the arms are at the edge of the table, what I've seen is that the elbow is lower than the wrist. So the bulk of the muscles or of the forearm are in contact with the edge. I think that's what he's asking. In that position, your mouse, the muscles have to work harder at your forearm due to the angle of your forearm. So it lengthens the top of the muscles right here, and it shortens the bottom muscles here. And in terms of muscle physiology, there's an optimal length at which muscles tend to work. And if you guys think about it in terms of a bicep curl, when you are at slightly over 90 degrees, that's when you're the strongest. It's called the length tension relationship. But at the cellular level, it just means these proteins are aligned pretty well. But that creates the best tension. So it'll fatigue more easily if you're in that position. It doesn't necessarily hurt you to do that, but it can lead to higher risk of injury. And I think typically with that, it's like you might not have better ergonomics. So my recommendation is, use an armrest or sit close enough to your table so that your forearm is parallel with the ground and it's just resting on the table.
Kind of like reminds me of those videos of like the old Korean StarCraft pros who would like measure everything and like make sure that their armrests on their chairs were like perfectly in line with their desk and stuff like that. So you're saying that's good stuff, right?
Yep. Bring your ruler out. Pop that ruler out.
Sweet. So in that regard, what kind of chairs do you recommend? Obviously, you have like a gaming chair.
You know what? Like I get this question all the time, and I don't really have one straight recommendation. I think the Herman Miller chairs are great. I really think the main thing is it's all about customization and how you're able to customize it to fit the setup of your table. Right? You can't just only consider your chair. You have to make sure your armrest can fit under it. Can you raise it high enough so that your armrest can don't come in contact with the table or put your forearms on the table. There's so many things that you can consider. So I think one of maybe the stepwise process is, okay, understand the dimensions of your table, understand the width of your table, then look into the dimensions of the chair and see if that allows you to clear the table. If you like to play closer and you want your forearms to be resting on the table, if not, most tables have, or most chairs now have armrests. You can keep it parallel to the ground. In terms of the actual comfort and how much cushion, I prefer a little more firm because it doesn't mean your muscles have to work a little harder as you're sitting and you're sinking in and you have to be more active to hold yourself up. I think firm is a little better. It's nice to have a lumbar support, but it's not necessary. Same thing with the neck pillow. It's all about how you sit in the chair and whether or not you can customize it to sit in what would be the neutral positions. And I have like this long guide and maybe I can like post it in the chat.
Yeah, go for it. You can also link it in the description if you want.
Yeah, there it is, guys. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I can't say, oh, this is the best chair because every chair is different for everyone's size.
Sure.
So whenever someone says this is the best gaming chair, they're not telling me the truth. It's the best gaming chair for one person.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that question. Do we have to bring a tape measure when we go to a net cafe?
Yeah,
yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Bring it. Bring a protractor too, you know.
That'll definitely not get you beat up when
then you have a weapon.
Exactly. Ninja Star.
Exactly.
Okay, so Dark Phoenix asks, should I avoid tucking a foot under myself, aka half yoga position? I sit like this also a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sit like this too. And I think he has the second part of his question too, right? Like.
Oh yeah. So two different ones, so you can answer that one first if you want. But he also asks. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll answer that one. So Dark Phoenix, pretty much the same answer to the Rommel question, right? If you're not holding it too long,
right,
should be fine. Objectively, it's better to play with your feet flat and supported. If you're not tall enough, you get a footrest to bring the floor up to you, right? Same thing if you're turning your knee out and sitting on your foot, the outer knee tissues can be irritated, and it can also irritate the knee joint itself. So when I was working in an orthopedic clinic back then, all these 50, 60-year-old ladies, I mean, you guys obviously aren't 50 and 60. There's no Dota silver sneakers yet, but well, maybe there is actually, who knows? But they came to me saying, hey, I still like this a lot, and then they have joint irritation. And once we change that position or change that habit of theirs, they felt better. So because we're young, we're resilient, it's not going to hurt us as much, but just a thing to keep in mind. Why not avoid that in the first place and just feet flat on the ground?
Sure. Cool. Yeah. So the second question from Dark Phoenix was, I tend to have slight discomfort under the knuckle base of his index finger during a slight claw grip on his mouse, which I think Logitech G502 or something like that. Should I do stretch exercises for that, and what would be a good hand stretch? I know you have a hand stretching program. I've seen it before, so I'm gonna assume yes. But
yeah, so I think with regards to the slight discomfort under the base of the finger, I think it depends on whether or not it's on the palm side or the opposite side of the hand, right? Because that means it's a different tissue involvement. I am assuming because it's claw, it's probably on the opposite side of the hand,
right?
Over here. So it's probably over here. So that's a tendon irritation issue. Stretches are really temporary in terms of relief. So if you guys do have discomfort here, discomfort in your fingers here, discomfort along the backside here, it's all the same stretch, and you can isolate the fingers that you guys feel it in, or the respective knuckle, by just grabbing the two fingers, pulling it back. I don't know if you guys can kind of see this, but like that.
That'll hurt if you're tight in there. That'll definitely hurt.
Yeah, and you want to hold it 20 to 30 seconds. You're not trying to stretch it to the point where it really does hurt. Moderate discomfort's fine, but really, if you want long-term relief and be able to play in the claw position, have the G502 and not worry, you want to also build up your endurance. So the thing I always recommend is this general program or general video that I've created that works to just build up endurance for your wrist and hand muscles. But specific to the index finger, something that obviously super easy you can do is a lot of people get that grip strengthening kit that has like a rubber band that's attached to the finger, and you just provide some resistance.
Actual single finger.
Yeah. I mean, you can provide some resistance, but why not work on all of them at once?
Sure.
You know, you can just work on all extensors, endurance sort of repetitions, 3 sets of 20, 3 sets of 15, morning and nighttime. And then it takes roughly 4 to 6 weeks to make a change in strength. So that's when you can really expect for there to be noticeable changes. Maybe in 2 weeks if it's a coordination issue, but 6 weeks is roughly the time, if you're really consistent with doing these exercises, that you'll probably not feel any discomfort at all after doing it consistently. So, yeah.